So what makes that coming 3-year-old a high-risk female for us? So the issue with her is that, let me just describe for you a little bit. Regardless of whether it's a mature cow or a heifer or a 2-year-old, they're going to have a hierarchy of needs. And so we have our basal metabolism needs, just to breathe and to sit here and have metabolic functions. And we have to have nutrients to make those things happen, as do those cows. And they have an order of importance for when nutrients are going to be partitioned to what functions. So, we're going to start with the metabolic needs. We've got growth in there. We have lactation, if she's already had a baby and now she's nursing that baby. And way down on the bottom of her list is to start cycling again and maintain another pregnancy. That tends to be on our list higher up. But for her, she can only meet that need and partition nutrients to that need if these other needs have been met first. So the problem can be that either we are short on those nutrients for her to partition, so there's just not enough of them to go around, or we have created an animal that has higher requirements than we have nutrients to put in those buckets, if you will, And with that, coming 3-year-old and her trying to get bred with that second baby, what a lot of people forget, I think there's 2 things that people forget related to her. One is that if you look at, basal metabolism and growth and lactation, all those things, the first calf heifer, the one that's never had a baby, the one you're trying to get bred for the very first time, she has that basal metabolism and she has growth, but she doesn't have lactation. So you literally take an entire bucket that has to be filled out of the equation for her, and then she has to cycle and get bred. Okay. If you take a mature cow over 5 years old or whatever, your running age cows that are the queens of your herd, she's got basal metabolism, she's got lactation, she doesn't have growth. So she doesn't have a bucket to fill. But then you take that 2-year-old who's coming 3, who has a new baby, first time ever, she's got her basal metabolism, she's still got quite a bit of growth to do, and she's now got lactation on top of that, and you want her to rebreed. So she's at a disadvantage because she has one more bucket to fill than either of her younger sisters or her older sisters. And sometimes we forget about that. The other thing I think that we sometimes don't realize is just how big the lactation bucket is for their energy needs. And so we kind of short those cows sometimes. We may short all the cows if we're not, if we have more need for lactation than we actually have resources to give them. But it hurts that cow more because she has so many other requirements, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So you made the comment that, it could either be because we're not providing the nutrients or that we've created females that are requiring extra nutrients than our environment can provide. What are some things ranchers can be aware of when they're selecting females to make sure that, or at least try to have their energy requirements fit their environment?
So that kind of goes back to a comment, and I think we had maybe talked about this a little bit earlier when we weren't online, but that comment that sometimes you hear people say that they're not going to baby their heifers, that they have to make it in their environment. And so I guess I always challenge people, are you babying her, or are you meeting her needs, or are you flat out setting her up for failure? Because you're not accounting for the fact that she has one more bucket to be filled than everybody else. But then are you setting her up for failure because when you are selecting bulls that then their daughters are going to be these upcoming heifers? Are you selecting for bulls that are going to put too much milk production in their daughters for the environment that you have? Are you, is the quality of hay that you can get in your operation lower, and therefore you need more supplement, but you're not willing to pay for that supplement? So then that puts this particular heifer at more risk, because you don't have those. You've either created her to have too much milk production, or another thing that happens to us sometimes is we continually select bulls that put more weaning weight, more genetic potential, regardless of milk production, into our herd. So is the average mature body weight of our herd slowly creeping up? And so therefore that maintenance bucket that we talked about that they have to fill first takes more out of what we have to offer her. So therefore there's less available when we get down to rebreeding. So those are unintended consequences of some decisions that we make sometimes that I'm not saying everybody does that. I'm saying that's something we need to be cognizant that can happen to us, and make sure that in fact the female we are developing or creating does fit the environment that we have.
Folks, if you enjoyed this short conversation, be sure to listen to the full episode on casual cattle conversations. You can find this podcast right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast player. Happy ranching.